90% of people have a ready answer to this question, but only a few know the whole truth. Before you continue, write in the comments, was Elvis the king of rock or the biggest beneficiary of black music? After the video ends, go back and compare your answer with what you discovered. And if you enjoyed this type of investigative documentary that reveals what's behind history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because every subscription helps us bring you more documentaries like this. Some have been promoting the idea of Elvis as the king or a black music fraud. The debate has recently gained momentum with the release of new works, such as Baz Luhrmann's film Elvis, that directly address the question, did Elvis truly build his career on music created by black artists? In other words, did cultural appropriation occur? Some scholars define this as the majority adopting cultural elements of minorities in an exploitative or demeaning way. The answer is not binary. Elvis became a symbol of the controversy simply because he was a wealthy white boy who benefited from black music in an era when black artists faced severe racial discrimination. Key points. The discussion has resurfaced in recent years, particularly with a few media works, documentaries, and films that have highlighted this controversy. The meaning of cultural appropriation, scholars describe it as the adoption of cultural elements of a minority group in provocative or demeaning ways. Conversely, some argue that simply adopting musical influences does not necessarily constitute intentional exploitation. Why is Elvis a symbol? Because he is seen as a stark example, a young white man who captivated audiences by presenting music that had primarily developed among black people. His enormous success earned him the title of King of Rock, making the question of the authenticity of this success a subject of debate. In America during the 1940s and 50s, the cultural foundation of rock and roll was built upon the blues, gospel, and R&B music created by African American artists. Although this music was popular in black communities, segregation policies in the American South hindered its reach to white listeners. There were white radio stations that played only white music and black stations that specialized in black music. In short, blues and gospel. Originating in churches and African American neighborhoods, it expressed the black experience. For example, Sister Rosita Tharpe was a pioneer in introducing the electric guitar into gospel music. Rhythm and blues, born from the fusion of blues and jazz, it is a direct precursor to rock music. Stars like Little Richard, whose songs were energetic and full of raucous rhythms, Chuck Berry, with his revolutionary guitar, and blues singers like Big Mama Thornton, the originator of Hound Dog, formed the pillars of this fusion. Segregation, Jim Crow laws, and the de facto ban on assimilation encouraged this music among white audiences. Black artists did not have the same access to mainstream media, radio/television, as white artists. Pioneers of the era. Before Elvis, Black America produced influential names that laid the foundation for rock. Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, described as one of the most important early rock engineers. And Big Mama Thornton, the originator of the song Hound Dog. These artists did not achieve similar global fame at the time due to racial prejudices, but their musical influence was profound and pivotal. Elvis was born in Tupelo and moved with his family to Memphis, Tennessee, where he immersed himself in the vibrant African American musical scene. He grew up in black churches listening to gospel and blues, an influence that would later be reflected in his own performances. He was discovered by Sam Phillips, owner of Sun Records, and recorded his first songs in 1954 at Sun Studios. Among these recordings was That's All Right, a blues cover of a song by Arthur Big Boy Crudup, a well-known black artist. It was an instant hit and launched Presley's remarkable career at a young age. The question that has been raised from the beginning is, was Elvis simply imitating black artists, or did he blend their influences in a unique way? The truth is complex. Elvis himself said in early interviews, "Rock and roll was around a long time before I came along. No one can sing that kind of music like people of color. I could never sing like Waltz Domino." In a 1957 interview, he acknowledged that rock music was called rhythm and blues, and that he was simply trying to offer a new interpretation of it. He didn't try to hide his sources of inspiration. Instead, he aimed to create something new that blended the sounds he grew up with. His work with the band's son, Sam Phillips. combined the spirit of white pop with the rhythm of black blues, giving rise to his unique rockabilly style. Here are some examples of songs that sparked debate about copies of black art. Hound Dog 1952 and 1956, the original was performed by Big Mama Thornton in 1952, reaching #1 on the blues charts. In 1956, Elvis presented it in a more pop style and rewrote the lyrics, for example, replacing syllables, making it one of his most famous songs. However, Big Mama didn't receive the commercial recognition she deserved. Her original version sold millions of copies, and she later said she only saw a $500 check for 2 million copies sold. That's All Right, 1954, Elvis's first major hit. It was actually a cover of a 1946 song by the black artist Arthur Crudup. The song's resurgence was thanks to Presley. While his original version had limited success, Crudup later asserted that Elvis revived his career for a white audience. Mystery Train 1953/1955. Originally by blues artist Junior Parker in 1953, Elvis covered it with a more rhythmic arrangement in 1955. Elvis also used Mystery Train in his documentary film. Tutti Frutti 1956, originally a song by Little Richard, 1955. Elvis recorded a version in 1956 that became famous as a side to his hit song Blues Suede Shoes. In all these cases, Elvis made modifications, different rhythm, distinctive stage presence. But the song remained known as one that had been sung by others before Presley. It's worth noting that many of these songs were written by white artists, such as Lieber and Stoller, but it was black singers who truly brought them to life and interpretation. What allowed Elvis to achieve global fame wasn't just his talent or his song choices, but the music and media production system in 1950s America. Relationships with major record labels and radio stations were racially segregated. Recordings, black singers didn't have equal opportunities to sign with major labels. Elvis, on the other hand, signed with RCA Records, 1955, which provided him with unparalleled funding and marketing. Radio. As historians have noted, there were stations catering exclusively to whites and others to blacks. White DJs didn't touch black music, and black DJs refused to play songs performed by white people. Myth: when DeWay Phillips played Presley's first recording in Memphis, listeners thought the singer was black. In other words, Americans wanted black music, but without black people themselves. Television. Elvis received early exposure on national television programs, such as Ed Sullivan, while black art was rarely allowed on air or widely broadcast channels. Marketing and popular demand. White youth constituted the largest market. Fusion art, despite its black roots, resonated with white teenagers. Little Richard himself observed that what was offered to Elvis wouldn't have been given to a black man. Professor San Phillips even stated that he was looking for a white man with a black voice to make millions. The logical question is, was the problem with Elvis himself or with the entire racist system? Many historians believe that Presley exploited a historical gap created by societal discrimination. In other words, his success wasn't theft in the simple sense, but rather the result of a closed system that granted white artists opportunities denied to black artists of equal standing. Opinions among black music producers were mixed. Little Richard, he ultimately praised Elvis, saying in 1970, "Thank God for sending Presley. He opened that door for me to walk through." But in earlier interviews, 1990, he alluded to the factor of race. If Elvis had been black, he wouldn't have become so big. If I were white, I'd be on top of the world. Much of what they did for him, they wouldn't have done for me if I were black. B.B. King, he consistently praised Elvis's character. In his memoir, Blues All Around Me, 1996, he wrote, "Elvis never stole any music from anyone. He simply gave his own interpretation of the music he grew up with, and that applies to everyone. I think Presley was a man of integrity." King B.B. also defended his friend. Other artists and commentators, for example, Ray Charles strongly criticized Presley in 1994, asking, "What is he the king of? There are far greater artists than Presley. He sings our kind of music, so what's there to admire about him?" In contrast, James Brown considered him the only truly American singer, saying, "I wasn't just a fan, I was his brother. There will never be another like us. Interestingly, one idea didn't resonate with everyone. Some saw Elvis as exploitative and a copycat, while others appreciated his contribution to popularizing black music. Simply put, there is no consensus on the issue. Opinions among black music producers were mixed. Little Richard, he ultimately praised Elvis, saying in 1970, "Thank God for sending Presley. He opened that door for me to walk through." But in earlier interviews, 1990, he alluded to the factor of race. If Elvis had been black, he wouldn't have become so big. If I were white, I'd be on top of the world. Much of what they did for him, they wouldn't have done for me if I were black. B.B. King, he consistently praised Elvis's character. In his memoir, Blues All Around Me, 1996, he wrote, "Elvis never stole any music from anyone. He simply gave his own interpretation of the music he grew up with, and that applies to everyone." I think Presley was a man of integrity. King B.B. also defended his friend. Other artists and commentators, for example, Ray Charles strongly criticized Presley in 1994, asking, "What is he the king of? There are far greater artists than Presley. He sings our kind of music, so what's there to admire about him?" In contrast, James Brown considered him the only truly American singer, saying, "I wasn't just a fan, I was his brother. There will never be another like us." Interestingly, one idea didn't resonate with everyone. Some saw Elvis as exploitative and a copycat, while others appreciated his contribution to popularizing black music. Simply put, there is no consensus on the issue. Elvis's success stemmed not only from his exceptional vocal talent, but also from a confluence of factors unique to his era. Charisma and performance. He possessed a revolutionary stage presence, dancing in the pelvis, gestures, and emotional singing, which captivated a young audience. He was a fresh image for the youth of the 1950s. Voice and style. He blended blues, country, and gospel into his voice in a catchy and high-energy way. His voice and singing made him distinctive and broadly popular. Television and media. He appeared early on American television, for example, The Ed Sullivan Show, making the image of a white rock star familiar to every household. Marketing and timing. He was placed in the right market. He was a young man during the rise of teen culture and the post-war period. RCA transformed him into an artistic and industrial brand. The Wall Street Journal described Presley in 1956 as a big business. The racial context. All these talents would not have borne such fruit were it not for the racial framework. Being white gave him opportunities unavailable to any black singer of that era, in a society that prohibited him from singing across color lines. In short, Presley was unique in his ability to combine all these elements, but he benefited greatly from the biased media distribution system. Today, many historians acknowledge that the list of influential figures includes black names whose historical perspectives have been altered. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, perhaps even more influential than Presley in rock, she introduced the electric guitar to gospel music in the 1930s. Yet, in the era of its popularity, she was largely overlooked, with some critics even labeling her Elvis in disguise. More recently, she is proudly remembered as one of the mothers of rock. Big Mama Thornton. Despite her success on the blues charts with Hound Dog, her version was forgotten after Elvis took over the song. Her recent story, receiving only $500 for millions of copies, highlights how history has ignored the contributions of songs originating from black artists. Chuck Berry and Little Richard, the very backbone of rock. The Chicago Defender declared after Elvis's death that Chuck Berry is the true king of rock. Presley was merely a prince who benefited from the king's talents. Even Little Richard, who had previously criticized Presley, later acknowledged that the young white man's actions had opened doors to his own fame. Modern history is acknowledging these figures and reshaping the early rock narrative by placing their names at the forefront. Contemporary popular culture is increasingly giving due credit to the artists who laid the foundations of this music. After considering all the factors, it becomes clear that Elvis Presley wasn't a thief in the literal sense. He never claimed to have invented rock. On the contrary, he always honored his black roots. What actually happened was that the American music industry in the 1950s offered white artists enormous opportunities that were never afforded to black artists. A more accurate description would be that Presley was one of the biggest beneficiaries of black music within a discriminatory system. It's worth noting that this wasn't unique to Elvis. It was part of broader disparities in American history. Perhaps Elvis Presley didn't literally steal black music, but rather was the first to bring it into the heart of mainstream white culture, acknowledging its creators. In a system that continued to give white producers a dominant advantage, Elvis became the king of rock, a figure everyone saw as a final breakthrough, while today the memory of those who paved the way with their talent, from Sister Rosetta to Big Mama Thornton, Little Richard, and Chuck Berry, is being revisited.